is in a clear spot that you can easily put your finger in it and kind of open and close it. If it's not in a clear spot, it's not going to really be beneficial to you. You also want to make sure you're not too close to the carburetor side or the fuel inlet side, where the fuel tank inlet is. All right, so here's a couple steps. This is good practice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen the screw, the gas cap. All right, I'm going to add a plastic bag like so. This will just hopefully seal the gas. And now you want to shut it again. Hopefully that'll make it tight, you know, just so that gas won't come out. Now what I'm going to do again is I'm going to tilt it up on its side. All right, you know, you tilt it however you feel comfortable with. That's a good spot for me. Normally I do this with gloves, but since I'm, you know, filming this, I'm not going to do it. Now you're going to use your tool of choice. We have channel locks and we have needle nose pliers. I'm going to use the smaller channel lock. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get it so that I could get all three of those. I'm going to squeeze it, and then I'm going to push it off right to the side, right in the middle. Now that it's there, I could kind of work with that fuel line. All right, and before I start working with the fuel line, I want to get this guy. So what I'm going to do, and sometimes you gotta move these guys around a little bit. Sometimes, you know, it takes a little finessing. All right, and there we go. We got that one here. Okay, so now they're both off, or at least out of our way. Now what I like to use, I know there's some pretty, you know, tools, some nice tools you can get for it. What I like to do is just use a screwdriver, and I just kind of like to pry it. I'm gonna just pry this as best I can, try not to damage the fuel line itself. You also can get it sometimes just by pushing on it a little bit and working it free. Sometimes it's not the easiest, especially if it's a brand new mower or if it's an older mower. All right, so there we go. I'm moving it. Once you get it loosened up a little bit, it usually makes it a little easier. All right, and an alternative to what I'm doing right here, you can also do this with the fuel line on. It's just a little bit more difficult because you have to cut into the fuel line twice. Okay, and it's just about off. A little difficulty since I am filming with one hand. There it is, just a little bit of gas coming out. I'm going to flip it over. All right, now whatever you see that's coming out is just off the carburetor. Now we're going to do that same exact process just over here. And there we go. I just pulled that off, and this is our fuel line, and boy is it short. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to move these clamps over, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this right here. Now again, make sure you got that arrow in the right spot, and that's where I want it, kind of right in the middle. So the first thing is first, is I'm going to cut a nice square cut right here. Now this is going to be the piece that's going to go back onto my machine. All right, so once I put this in here, all right, just like so. All right, now if I put this back on, I'm going to add length to my total fuel line hose. And I don't really want to add line. I just want to keep it kind of close to what it was before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of measure here. I'm going to eyeball it, and I'm going to cut out another little piece. And that is going to be for the body of the fuel valve that I'm adding to it. Okay, so that is our finished product. Now I'm not going to use the clamps. If using the clamps is something that you think is necessary or you're more comfortable with, I definitely wouldn't hesitate to do it. I just personally don't think it's needed. This is on a lot is on very well, and I've never had an issue with it. So all the process is just push it back in. All right, so it's on the carburetor side now, and then you're just going to kind of play around with this until you get it right on straight. Again, it's a little difficult for me right now just because I'm trying to film. All right, but it can be done. Let's take it off the carburetor side and see if it's a little easier to get it on the tank first. Sometimes you gotta play with it and get it to where you want it to be. Okay. This is also a good time. It's a good time to do this modification, if you would, if you're replacing your carburetor. Just because you're gonna have it off anyway, there's kind of no reason why you wouldn't want to. All right, so here we go, and that's it. Now once you get it on, you could sure it up a little bit. You could definitely tighten it up a little bit more. You could usually adjust the angle of the valve if you want it pointing down. Okay, you could kind of put it however you want. These clamps would just simply clamp back on, and you are good to go. All right, again, not the easiest one-handed while filming, but that's all it is. If you're more comfortable, you may want to do this with the gas tank completely empty. If you're working on the carb, it's a lot easier to work with it too. And another tip that works, again, if it's easier for you, you can also take the gas tank off completely by removing the pull starter housing, and you know, that'll work. But you know, I just kind of made do just for an example to show you, and there it is. So now, after I'm running the machine and you know, for whatever reason I want to turn that fuel off, I would just flip it. Well, actually it's already on the off spot. I would flip it, or if I want to turn it on, I just turn it on like that, and then I just turn it like that, and that's really it. All right, it's a pretty cool mod, works very well. Just want to show you guys a couple examples. These are all my personal machines. All right, this is the Toro Recycler 22-inch with the Briggs & Stratton. All right, here I added one, you can see it. All right, I was working on the carb and I had one, so I figured let me put it on. So there it is. Here's the Toro Super Recycler with the TXP 159cc Chinese Honda clone, the Chanda as they call it. All right, here, notice where I put it. I wanted it in a spot that it was clear from the governor, so I put it right here. This one has no clamps, as you can see. This mower I've been using for about 6 or 7 years now. Never really had an issue at all with it or with this setup. Works incredibly well. All right, here is my newer one. This is the Toro Super Recycler with the matte black deck. All right, this engine is the same engine that was just on that Craftsman we did, and here you can see it. This one, you know, like I said, you want it in a spot where you could work with it, turn it on and off. And this one doesn't have the clamps either.